I can't even begin to tell you how dangerous this act is. First, it was passed in the middle of the night with 40 minutes to read an 800-page bill, which is unacceptable. As of January 1st, 2023, the following things will go into effect, and people need to be aware of this. It abolishes cash bail for almost every offense. This includes, but isn't limited to, kidnapping, armed robbery, second-degree murder, drug-induced homicide, aggravated DUI, threatening a public official, and aggravated fleeing and eluding. Offenders released on electronic monitoring have to be in violation for 48 hours before law enforcement can act. They could almost drive to Alaska before we can even look for them. It denies victims their constitutional rights. And keep this in mind, businesses and homeowners. Officers will no longer be able to remove trespassers from your residence or your businesses. Someone could decide to live in your shed, and all we can do is give them a ticket. You have to decide what level of force is required to remove them and whether or not it's legal. This is a massive threat to the residents of Orland Park, Cook County, and Illinois. I want to remind voters that several elected officials that will be on the ballot
Welcome to another episode of the Jay Lex Podcast. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment on the content. I appreciate you rocking with me. You know where to find it. Today's topic, legalizing crime. Recently, in the state of Illinois, they passed a law called the Illinois Safety Act, which is a controversial law that they've just put in that goes into effect January 1st, 2023. Basically, in this law, things that were once offenses, that were crimes, essentially, have basically been deemed non-detainable offenses. We've got aggravated battery, we've got aggravated DUI, we've got aggravated fleeing, we've got arson, we've got burglary, we've got drug-induced homicide, we've got intimidation, we have kidnapping, robbery, second-degree murder. Let me say that again, second-degree murder and threatening of a public official. Some of the people who are for this said that there needs to be reforms within the criminal justice system. Of course, we know this. We know dating as far back as going back to the days of when slavery was abolished. There were laws written like jaywalking. If you walked across the street and there was no crossing sign or something like that, they would imprison you. We know that these things existed. It's terrible. It's awful. And yes, there do need to be certain changes that have to be made to the criminal justice system. We know this. We know that essentially prisons are a means to free labor for the state, or essentially free labor to the state. As we know, Kamala Harris was putting 1,500 people back in whenever she was the ADA out in San Francisco, so the state could have cheap labor. We know how the prison system works. We know that we know some cops are out there just trying to get you arrested just to try to get you in there. We know how all of this works. We know that there is a system. But what we also cannot have is crimes that are essentially things that were once considered crimes, now essentially like, It's essentially a nonviolent offense, and there's no cash bail. So essentially, these people can get arrested or will get arrested and are essentially going to be let go. This isn't somebody smoking weed on the block. This isn't, somebody shooting up heroin in their spare time. These are legitimate crimes: burglary, arson, drug-induced homicide, second-degree murder, robbery. You're telling me that these politicians in the state of Illinois, I think mostly Democrat, if memory serves me correctly, are sitting here and telling me that these things, these actions, and these are actions, aggravated battery, aggravated DUI, these are not crimes worth putting people in prison over? I know the prison system is a way for some rich folk to make money. I know some of them are privatized. I get it. But you can't have this. Well, I don't agree with every single law in the books. You've got to have some semblance of order. If an MFer breaks into your house in Illinois, at least one of the mayors who was talking about it said this, essentially you have to figure out whether or not it's legal for you to be able to defend your home, for you to take action. Essentially, the police can't come. Somebody could squat in your garage, as I understand it, in the state of Illinois come January 1st, and the police cannot remove that person. Excuse me? We're just allowing people now to walk into people's homes. This is some stuff you hear about in some parts of like Italy. Squatters coming in. And I've heard of, actually, I saw one case in the Midwest of a woman. Well, she actually paid somebody, I think it was a scam, to go into another person. Somebody was like buying the house. This woman, I forget what her nationality was, but she basically moved into the house and wouldn't leave because she'd paid a gentleman, it was a scam, like $3,000 to move into this place. But you're meaning to tell me that somebody can squat, come live in my garage, my house, and I have to figure out a way to remove them? That's what law enforcement's there for. Are y'all serious right now? Aggravated battery, kidnapping? You grab somebody's child, you hold them against their will, and this is not a crime? Who wrote this goddamn law? What? Wait, I'm completely and totally confused here. And don't think they're not doing this on purpose. Don't. They're literally doing this on purpose. They're literally saying it's all right to be a criminal. I'm not talking about somebody selling, a weed on the corner. The things that they were throwing people in prison for. Now, weed is legal in most states. The old Rockefeller laws, things along those lines. You had an ounce or whatever the case might be, they threw you in jail. I get those laws shouldn't be on the books. And those people who were thrown in prison should sue those states for and have their records expunged. We're talking about second-degree murder here. How can you as a state, how can you lawfully put in something that says that these things that are legitimate crimes, you can't be prosecuted for, essentially? You guys have seen all the videos, whether it's San Francisco, LA, parts of Chicago, Philadelphia, New York City. You see the craziness going on out there. And I don't want to hear everything is a mental health issue. Let's stop the nonsense. Let's stop this garbage. Not everything's a mental health issue. Some people are just evil. And so now the police who get pensions, who risk their lives, and this is not to all police, by the way. You guys know who you are. If you're the good ones, this does not apply to you. You know who you are. But there's terrible police. There's some police out here who barely do their job as it is. And now you're saying, okay, they're going to get a pension, lifetime benefits, the whole bit, and they essentially don't have to do anything. I talked about it in a previous episode. The case in 2005, Castle Rock versus Gonzalez, where essentially the Supreme Court said that the Supreme Court basically came out and said that police under the Constitution do not have to protect people, do not have to protect individuals from harm. It was based on a case. Give me 1 second here. Did not have the constitutional duty to protect a person from harm. A woman, where is it? Give me 1 second. So it was voted on back in 2005, which ruled 7-2 that a town and its police department could not be sued under 42 U.S.C. 1983 for failing to enforce a restraining order, which led to the murder of a woman's 3 children by her estranged husband. The police, under the law, do not have to protect the public. This was a restraining order, but essentially do not have to protect the public from harm. If somebody can maybe explain it to me a little bit better, I'm just giving a basic synopsis. They don't have the duty to protect the public, but you have these places like Illinois, like New York City, that want to keep you from getting a firearm. So what happens when somebody kicks your door in and tries to kidnap your child, or tries to kidnap you, or tries to rob you? Are you supposed to have tea and crumpets out for them? A little coffee and pecan pie and say, take whatever you want? Are you just supposed to be thankful? You know what happened down in Uvalde, Texas? They did everything that they could. They stopped the parents who were trying to go in to save their children before that psychopath went and killed all those elementary school kids. So the police, not all police, by the way, I'll say that again, so I don't want to hear from you police, well, you should show respect. I'm not talking about all of you. But are the police, if the police don't have to protect you under the Constitution and cannot be sued under what the Supreme Court said, what are people supposed to do? You have 11 or 12 offenses here that basically they're going to be out of prison within 24 hours. I think one of the other things I read is if somebody's on being monitored, like the ankle monitors and all that stuff, the police have to wait 2 days before they can go investigate. 2 full days. Are you kidding me with this nonsense right now? And we're supposed to let this fly as taxpayers? Crime is rampant in South Chicago. I know I'm not supposed to talk about Chicago. I know that's a touchy subject for some people. You're not allowed to bring it up. It's only about black people. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't want to hear about mental health. I don't want to hear about trauma. Where's your black leadership? What things are y'all putting in place to help these young people out who are misguided? I don't want to hear about a 16 or 17 or 18-year-old who didn't know any better, who went through some shit in their lives. A lot of people go through shit in their lives. That doesn't mean they go and rob and steal and kill each other. And in the state of Illinois, they say, all right, we're going to let you back out on the street to do more killing, more stealing. Don't look up the videos. You don't have to believe me. People running rampant, young people. It seems to be a lot of young people. I know there's some mental health issues going on out here. A lot of poor people on the streets. Living on the block, you can't go onto the train. People defecating in the train station, in the subway system. Luckily for me, I haven't been to NYC in a little bit. I don't really do the train like that. Cars are being broken into in broad daylight. People being followed to their homes. And all the police can say to you is don't wear nice stuff outside. I worked for that stuff. This is beyond criminal mischief. This is beyond, somebody stealing for the purpose of putting food in their stomach. At least in that case, you do it. You do what you have to do. You steal. You don't hurt the other person. People are stealing. People are thieving for sport. And you have a bunch of predominantly left-leaning politicians who are sitting out here saying, you know what? They're not criminals. They need help. Fuck all that. If somebody comes in kicking your door in, if somebody follows you home and tries to rob you, what are you supposed to do? You want to have a conversation with them? You want to talk to them about Jesus? You want to sing hymns with them? That's why I said in one of the early episodes, I was talking about the argument for legal firearms. Every man and every woman who has the ability to and can afford to should go out, learn self-defense. Now, that may not stop you from getting robbed, but it could potentially stop, especially in the case of women, rape, sexual assault. Somebody kicks your door in, there's no conversation to be had. I saw a video out of Las Vegas about 2 weeks ago. A young woman's ex-boyfriend was essentially stalking her, excuse me. Both her parents were there, and he tried to break in. And you hear in the video the father say, "I've got a gun," and this guy, with his shoulder, breaks into the house, and the father pops off 3 times. Bang, bang, bang. Gave him a nice snap. That's what's going to end up happening out here. That whole Bill Gates depopulation thing, that's what all this is a part of. I won't get into all the conspiracy stuff for y'all, a little bit above your head. If somebody breaks into your house, there's no conversation to be had. I don't want to hear about their age. I don't want to hear about mental health issues. I don't want to hear about, they've got this going on, that going on. I don't care. You come into the crib, anybody's crib, who has any semblance of manhood in them. I know I'm not supposed to talk about, men being masculine, but goddamn, if there's a man in the household, barring they got the drop on you, you should drop them. I don't want to hear people crying. I don't care what nationality, what race. Periodically, you see these parents, sometimes they cry up to their kid. He shot my baby. What was your baby doing in my house? I seen another video of 2 young men trying to pose as police officers. They had hoodies and masks on, talking about, can you come outside, just the police, we need to talk to you. People have Ring now and everything like that, so a lot of these people post these videos, up on YouTube and other forms of social media. And then when those kids get shot, or their lives come to an end, and they go and take that dirt nap, you have parents out here crying, this didn't need to happen. Yes, it did. And I'm not even necessarily blaming all the parents, because some parents are really good. Some of these kids come from 2 family households. They're just, messed up in the head. But I don't want to see tears shed. You want to go and smoke weed? You want to go smoke cigarettes? We're not talking about little petty crimes. We're talking about jailable offenses. And you have politicians out here who themselves have many armies protecting them 24/7, 365, out here saying, no, it's like a moving violation. No cash bail. I know a couple cops in the city telling me about this stuff. Letting people out of Rikers. I remember they let people out of Rikers during COVID. What? Because it was overfilled. I thought everybody had to wear a mask. Are you kidding me with this nonsense? They were letting violent criminals out, not people who smoke weed and had to, go to jail. That's different. If you're doing drugs on your own, you're not bothering anybody, I have no issues. You committed a violent crime, your ass deserves to be in prison. And now and I guess come January, the state of Illinois is going to start letting people out. Okay, when crime goes up and people start dying, and people can't go out and have a good time and have a meal and everything along those lines, they're going to deflect and blame something else. Some of these states have the whole migrant issue going on. That's not to say that every person who migrated here, because my parents migrated here, but you have a lot of these people who come from like Venezuela and El Salvador. They should at the very least be vetted. They're just putting them on buses and sending them to these different cities and states. I just recently heard the dude out of Florida, the governor DeSantis, sent like 50 migrants out to like Martha's Vineyard, one of the most exclusive places. That, Nantucket, all these places, Cape Cod, these kind of smaller communities of predominantly rich white folks. And that's not to say any of these migrants are going to commit a crime. But don't think that all these people who they're flooding over the border down in Texas, like they're all just there to seek their freedom, seek asylum. Most of them are. But that's why you're supposed to vet people. You can't just have an open border. If crime goes up and here's what will happen. If crime goes up in Martha's Vineyard, we know why it started. Most rich folks don't commit, blue-collar crimes. They commit tax fraud. They commit, insider trading. They don't steal. They've got too much money. They don't have to. Maybe their kids will occasionally do it just for like a thrill. But they're not out here committing crimes and all that. Committing like real crimes. They're committing insider trading and getting 5 months at a boutique jail. Like Martha Stewart way back. And rest assured, things like this are going to come to a city near you. They're already in New York City. I think they have no cash bail or something to that effect. Is crime not up in New York City? I mean, putting aside just like the whole homeless thing. Crime is up pretty much everywhere. So I always implore people, please, learn how to defend yourself and get a couple firearms. Get your carry and conceal. And don't let these politicians tell you that you can't or you shouldn't. Because they got shooters on speed dial. When they walk out, I don't care if it's Mayor Adams, I don't care if it's Governor Holcomb, I don't care who it is, all your congressmen and women, all these senators, you run up on them the wrong way, you're going to get got. Don't listen to these fools. Protect yourself, because the police don't have to, and the politicians sure as hell don't give a damn about you. Learn how to use a firearm. Learn to defend yourself. Respect that firearm. Respect that discipline. Preferably some kind of mixed martial art. So I talked about rappers in the last episode losing their lives. Blaming the rapper's girlfriend. People don't want to see you successful out here. Some people are robbing and stealing because they're just evil people. And it's either going to be you or them. And preferably it's them. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Jay Lex Podcast. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Take care of yourselves. Bye.